The marble floors of Ethan Voss's mansion reflected the dying light of evening as Amora Jones stepped through the grand entrance. Her navy dress and white apron were crisp, professional. She wasn't here to clean or serve. She was here for Leo, the 3-year-old boy she'd cared for since his parents' bitter divorce. Maya, Leo's mother, trusted only Amora to pick up her son after these tense visitation days with his billionaire father. The moment Amora called his name, little Leo came running. His blonde hair bounced as he crashed into her legs, clutching his red dump truck. She scooped him up, feeling his small arms wrap around her neck. But their reunion shattered instantly. Ethan Voss appeared in the doorway, his expensive blue suit making him look more like a prosecutor than a father. His command was sharp and cruel. "Put him down." Before Amora could react, Ethan ripped Leo from her arms. The boy cried out in confusion as his toy clattered to the floor. Amora's heart pounded as Ethan roughly pulled up Leo's sleeve, revealing a small bruise on his upper arm. He held it like a weapon, his voice booming through the mansion. "There. Proof. You think you can hurt my son and walk away." Amora's blood ran cold. She stammered her denial, explaining that Leo had stumbled while playing, that she'd caught him before he crashed into the furniture. But Ethan wasn't listening. His face twisted with rage as he accused her of being Maya's pawn, sent to sabotage him. Leo reached desperately for Amora, but his father turned away, blocking the child's outstretched hands. The air grew thick with tension as Ethan made his next move. He called the police. Within minutes, Officer Daniel Brooks arrived, stepping into a scene that would change everything. Officer Brooks surveyed the scene with trained eyes. Ethan stood rigid, clutching Leo against his chest. Amora trembled near the doorway, her yellow cleaning glove still visible, tears streaming down her face. The overturned dump truck lay between them like evidence at a crime scene. Brooks knew immediately this wasn't a simple case. Ethan wasted no time launching his attack. He pointed at Amora with theatrical fury, demanding her immediate arrest. The bruise on Leo's arm was all the proof he needed. He insisted. Amora tried to explain again, her voice breaking as she described catching the boy mid-fall, preventing a far worse injury. But Ethan talked over her, his voice drowning out her pleas. Brooks raised his hand, commanding silence. He needed facts, not fury. Carla, the house manager, stood nervously by the wall. When pressed for her account, she could only admit she'd heard a cry but seen nothing. It wasn't enough. Brooks then noticed something crucial. Ethan mentioned security cameras. If footage existed, it could prove everything. "Let's review it," Brooks said firmly. Ethan's confidence flickered. He claimed the system was malfunctioning, that the recordings might be corrupted. Brooks's suspicion deepened. In his years on the force, he'd learned that innocent people welcomed evidence. Guilty ones made excuses. He crouched down to Leo's level, softening his voice to reach the frightened child. "Hey, buddy, can you tell me what happened?" Leo's eyes darted to Amora. His small hands reached for her again, but Ethan jerked him back, claiming the boy was traumatized and confused. Brooks saw right through it. He stood, his jaw tight, and informed Ethan he would need access to cloud backups and external camera feeds. Ethan refused outright. It was his house, his system, his rules. That refusal sealed everything in Brooks's mind. He pressed a button on his chest radio, documenting the obstruction for the record. The billionaire thought his power could control the narrative, but Brooks had seen this pattern before. Brooks found himself caught between duty and instinct. The evidence seemed thin, just a small bruise and conflicting stories. Yet Ethan's behavior screamed guilt. Still, procedure demanded action. With reluctance heavy in his chest, Brooks reached for his handcuffs. The metallic sound rang through the mansion as he told Amora to turn around. Amora's legs nearly gave out. She looked at Leo, her voice desperate and raw. "Please, Leo, tell them the truth." What happened next froze everyone in place. Leo suddenly exploded in his father's arms, his small body thrashing with surprising strength. His screams weren't the cries of a confused child. They were cries of trapped truth finally breaking free. His tiny fist pounded against Ethan's chest as words tumbled out between sobs. "She saved me. Daddy said to say Amora bad so Mommy can't take me." The mansion fell into crushing silence. Brooks's hand stopped mid-motion, the cuffs dangling uselessly. His sharp gaze locked onto Ethan, whose face had drained to ash white. The billionaire stumbled over his words, insisting his son was confused, too young to understand what he was saying. But the panic in his voice betrayed him completely. Amora gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Brooks stepped forward, his voice now steel-hard. He ordered Ethan to put Leo down immediately. The billionaire hesitated, calculating his options, but saw the officer's hand hovering near his taser. Slowly, Ethan lowered Leo to the floor. The boy bolted instantly, throwing himself into Amora's waiting arms. She held him tight, whispering comfort into his hair while her body shook with relief and shock. Brooks lifted his radio, his tone leaving no room for argument. He called for tech support to retrieve cloud footage and demanded Maya Voss be notified immediately. Ethan's composure crumbled further. He shouted objections, but Brooks cut him down with a single sentence. His son had just accused him of coaching lies. This was now a custodial investigation. Maya was coming whether he liked it or not. Minutes crawled by like hours. Ethan paced the marble floors, his expensive shoes clicking with increasing desperation. He kept insisting this was all a setup, that Amora was dangerous, that Maya had orchestrated everything to destroy him. But his protest sounded hollow now, even to himself. Amora sat on the floor with Leo in her lap, rocking him gently as her tears fell into his blonde hair. The tech officer arrived and connected to the cloud system. Ethan watched helplessly as his carefully constructed lie began to unravel. The first clip loaded on the screen. Everyone leaned in. There was Leo, tugging his dump truck across the polished floor. The toy rolled unexpectedly. The boy stumbled forward, his small body heading straight for the sharp corner of the console. Then Amora's yellow-gloved hand shot out like lightning, catching his arm and pulling him upright. His cry rang out, not from pain, but from fear. Amora's voice followed, soft and soothing. There was no violence, only rescue. Brooks nodded slowly, but he wasn't done. He asked the tech to search further back. What appeared next made Carla gasp aloud. The footage showed Ethan on the couch earlier that day, leaning close to Leo. His voice was low but perfectly audible on the recording. If anyone asks, say Amora hurt you. Say she's bad. If you don't, Mommy will take you away. Do you understand? Say it. Little Leo had nodded, confused and scared. Amora sobbed openly, kissing the top of Leo's head. Brooks turned toward Ethan, his face like carved stone. The officer's words were measured but devastating. Ethan had lied. He had tampered with his son's mind. He had weaponized an innocent child in a custody battle. That wasn't protection. That was abuse. Ethan's mask finally shattered completely. His voice cracked as he tried to justify everything. Custody was scheduled for tomorrow. If he couldn't prove Maya was dangerous, he'd lose his son forever. Ethan's final defense collapsed into desperate rambling. He insisted men like him didn't lose, that he'd do anything to keep his son, even if it meant manufacturing a story around a small bruise. Without Leo, he claimed, he was nothing. Brooks's response was ice-cold and final. He pulled out his handcuffs and snapped them around Ethan's wrists. The billionaire thrashed and cursed, but his words had lost all power. The truth had stripped him bare. The front door burst open. Maya rushed inside, breathless and terrified. When she saw Leo in Amora's arms, she dropped to her knees and gathered them both into a desperate embrace. Her tears soaked Leo's hair as she kissed him again and again, whispering how much she loved him. She turned to Amora, her voice breaking with gratitude. You saved him. You saved us both. Amora couldn't speak through her sobs. She only nodded, holding Leo tighter. Ethan screamed as Brooks dragged him toward the door, insisting this was still his house, that they couldn't remove him. Brooks leaned close, his voice deadly quiet. Watch me. Every word, every clip, every lie. The judge will see it all tomorrow. You're finished. Ethan's shouts echoed down the hallway, growing fainter with each step. His empire of lies crumbled with every word. The mansion fell quiet except for Leo's soft sniffles against his mother's shoulder. Maya rocked him, then pulled Amora into the embrace again, her voice fierce and clear. You're family now. Do you understand? He'll always have you, and so will I. Amora wept into Maya's shoulder, admitting she thought she'd lost everything tonight. Maya held her tighter, explaining that Leo had almost lost everything because of his father's greed. But Amora's courage and care had given him back his mother, his safety, his truth. Brooks lingered near the door, his voice softer now. The case was closed, but he had advice. Maya needed to make sure Leo understood how brave he'd been. The boy had told the truth when it mattered most. Maya kissed her son's cheek, her tears mixing with his. Leo's small, worn voice whispered one last time, "Amora saved me." She hugged him closer, her eyes closing in relief. The mansion breathed again, not as Ethan's fortress, but as a place where truth had finally won.